Disclaimer, all stunts performed in this video are done in a controlled professional environment where no one is able to get hurt.
Alright y'all, so basically, is what I'm gonna be doing. I'm doing my lowering springs first, but I thought while I'm doing the lowering springs, some of the parts I had to pull off to do the springs, I think will make it easier to do the diff. So while I'm already under here with stuff all apart, I'm gonna take the factory springs out, take all the parts off that I have to be able to do that. And then in the middle of that, I'm gonna go ahead and drop my diff and put my 309 in there. So I don't know if it does make it easier having some of the suspension components off, but we just going to see. But right now, got factory diff, of course, and factory springs. So I have to drop my exhaust, like everybody's saying, because you gotta, those are your axles right here, and they gotta drop down, but they'll be hitting on the exhaust. So you gotta drop the exhaust down or cut it, whatever you gotta do. And then it'll be some bolts right there and right there, and then the drive shaft bolts. Diff will come down. But first, we're doing springs, and I'm pretty sure I did these on my last Chrysler, but I don't really remember for sure how I did it. But I do remember taking this back lower control arm bolts out and letting that like pivot down, and then the spring can come out. So I know it's something like that, but we'll have to see. I just have to get taking stuff apart and update y'all as we go. But so yeah, first we're gonna get the springs out, and then we'll work on that diff.
Info focus. Info focus. Info focus. Shot bolt.
Got the shock out. Now we can start taking this lower control arm bolt out, but I'm gonna go ahead and support the spring and control arm with a jack before we do that. I'm gonna have to drop my exhaust to do the diff anyways, but I think I'm gonna have to go ahead and drop it now because this bolt that runs through the little control arm is pretty long, and so when you pull it out, it's gonna be hidden right here. So like there's not even enough space in between here and that socket, and the bolt's way longer than this socket. So I have to bring this down some, and then we'll be able to pull that bolt out. All right, so on this exhaust, at least on mine's, since it's straight pipe, they welded all the sections that are bolt together except this one side for whatever reason, because that side has that clamp, this side don't. But so what that means for me, I don't know if y'all's gonna be the same, but I'm gonna have to cut this pipe in order to drop it down enough to get to the diff. But for now, I got it out all the hangers, so it's loose, so I can get enough movement out of it to finish working on the springs over here and get this bolt out, because it's got enough slack to move around. But once it comes time to do the diff, I will have to cut it. So if you got straight pipe, and if the shop that did it welded the areas where you can separate it, if they welded it all together so it's all one piece, you're gonna have to cut it just like me. So just be prepared for that. It ain't really that big of a deal. I'll cut it and then take it back up there, have them throw another weld on it. Or if you got your own welder, then you can do that. But now we're gonna get the jack up under this lower control arm and pull this bolt out, and hopefully this spring will come out. Where the spring is at. All right, so these are the springs I got. I'll leave the link in the description if I want to get these. I don't know if y'all can read any of the part numbers or anything, but they are, let's see, you might can read that one better. But like I said, I'll leave the link in the description. But they're Godspeed, or yeah, Godspeed my last Chrysler I had Godspeed as well, but I had the 2.0 inch and like or it's really like a 1.9 and 1.8 inch drop, and it looked real good. I like lower cars and stuff, but daily driving it wasn't too fun, especially now that I got headers on this one. If I already know if I rubbed on my old one without headers, I most definitely would rub on this because them headers hang down just a little bit, and I'm gonna have a splitter on this one, and I'm gonna just have a lot more money and a lot more stuff that can get broke from being lowered on this car, so I'm not even gonna risk it. So I went with the 1.5 inch drop Godspeed, got them on Amazon. I want to say I paid like $200. I don't even remember. I've had them springs for like 3 months, so I don't even remember. But like I said, I'll leave the link in the description. I gotta look up. I can't remember if the tight end of the coils goes to the top or this side goes to the top. I'm gonna have to look it up because factory spring it ain't like that. So I'm gonna look it up and let y'all know, and we'll get this. Actually, we're not gonna get this slapped in here. We're gonna stop right here. We're gonna stop in this area while this lower control arm is dropped. We're gonna go do the same thing to the other side, and then we're gonna stop with the springs for a little bit, and we're gonna start on the diff. Because if you see, now this control arm isn't up here no more, it's dropped. I feel like there's a rock. I feel like whenever I go to drop this diff, it'll give the axles more room to drop down to make it easier to pull them out. Because if this was up, that axle is gonna hit right there. So if it's down and out the way, the axle can drop down some more. I'm thinking, I don't know, we'll see. Like I said, I had to do all this anyway, so. But yeah, we're gonna get on the other side and get started on that. All right, y'all, so as you can see, got passenger side spring is out and the lower control arm still hanging. I did go ahead and take my exhaust off, cut it off, and then driver's side's also right there. So now we're gonna leave the springs for a little bit, and we're gonna start messing with this diff. So I'm gonna watch a few more videos, but I'm pretty sure there's the bolt right here, one right there, and then you got these two right there, and then of course you got all your drive shaft bolts. So once I loosen those up, I'm gonna see what the best like sequences in these other videos, like what bolts they taking off first to let it hang or whatever they got to do. So I'm gonna see what they do as far as that, and then I know once it does start to drop down, these axles will come down like this, and you'll just have to pry one of them out. Once you get one of them out, the other one comes out a lot easier. And like I said, hopefully with these lower control arms being out the way, these axles can drop down some more than normal, and that'll help making it easier to pull them out of the diff. But we'll see. Taking the drive shaft off first, so they're unbolted all these bolts, and then just letting the drive shaft hang, and then they're putting a jack up under here and undoing these two on both sides, and then these ones up in the frame right there and up there. And we're gonna go ahead and take the drive shaft off. I think they say this is a T45, so hopefully I got one of those. Not making a lot of money. That's what we're gonna do first. Drive shaft out. It does not separate from here to here like my dumb ass is doing. It separates from this rusty part, goes up into there. So remember that. Now this out, we'll start loosening these bolts, getting the jack up under here, and hopefully make some progress. And this is a little trick for y'all if you don't know. If you can't get enough leverage on a wrench because it ain't long enough, so you don't have good leverage, you got your wrench, you take another one, slip it in there and lock it in. Slip it in there and lock it in. Now you got more leverage. Just like that. Those are broke loose. I'm gonna break these two and then we'll get the jack up under here. It's that I'm working on that bolt right there with the yellow mark on it. So if you got 13/16 ratchet wrench, it's 10 times easier for you. My set stops right before 13/16. Both of these back bolts are loose and they're out as far as they can go. People are saying that whenever you do take it out, you have to kind of shift the diff forwards to be able to get these to actually pull out of the threads of the diff, because you can't just pull them out this way. So you basically pull the diff away from the bolts instead of pulling the bolts away from the diff. But I got the jack up here. I'm hoping like hell that this diff or this jack is at a balance point of this diff, because when I take these down, I don't need this bitch tipping over or some shit like that. So hopefully we'll be all right. So now basically the jack's holding it up and the one other bolt over here, but once that's out, it should just be completely free besides these axles. So it's gonna drop down whenever we drop the jack down. The axles are gonna come down like this, and then you gotta pull one axle out and then the other one comes out. That jack stand right there where the drive shaft bolts up, just in case it tries to tip forward, because I don't want it to fall and hang on these axles. Then just take this pry bar, knock that loose a little bit. Basically, I'm gonna just grab this and pull it this way. Alright. So, be careful with this on the jack too, because like I said, it's not very, it's not balanced at all. So, just remember that. So you got these to swap over, so don't forget those. These little shock absorber things. If yours didn't come with this breather, it just pops off. Like that. Oh shit! It pops off. Make sure you transfer this over, but mine already has one, so I'm gonna leave this one on there. Oh fuck. Damn. I made it this far, bro. And I ain't spilled nothing. All right, y'all, so we got this diff out. And like I said earlier, this diff I bought used. Dude said it only had like 20,000 miles, I think, out of like a 2021 Scat or something. But I'm gonna go ahead and change the fluid. And then, actually, I might go ahead and bolt it up before I change the fluid. But it's what I am gonna do before I do bolt it up. I'm gonna replace these seals right here and on the other side. I got both of them right here, OEM. I'll go over the part numbers whenever I get to installing them, but like I said, might not be necessary, but those are easily damaged, especially when you're removing these. So I'm gonna just go ahead and do it while I got it out, because if not, I'm gonna have to pull all this back out again and replace them later on. So I'm gonna just do it now. But I'm gonna run to O'Reilly's real quick. And then I'm gonna get some new rear end fluid, and then I'll get back in here, bolt that new one up, and then we'll finish up on the spring. All right, y'all. So if y'all are replacing these seals like I am, they are different. So make sure you get a left and a right. And it says the left one is this number right here, ends in 92AA, and then the right one ends in 93AA. So those are the part numbers for the right one right there, and this is the part number for the left one. And I'll put the links for these in the description. I got them from Mopar website or whatever. So, and from what I can tell, I've done seals like these on four-wheelers and like stuff like that. They just pop out, so you grab like a pick or something and pop these out. And on the Mopar's website or whatever, I was looking at some forums and they were saying it's classified as a easy rating install. So it's rated as an easy thing to do. So it should be easy. You just pop these out with like a pick or a knife or something. Be sure not to scratch the inside of where the seal sits, because any kind of scratches will wear this seal out, it'll leak, all kinds of stuff. So be real careful when you're doing this. But pop these out, and then the other one should pop back in, and then you'll be good to go. So that's what we're gonna do next. So I popped this one out on accident. I wasn't recording, I thought I would, but I popped the other one out on video. But when you're putting it back in, the side with the groove in it goes inside, like in towards the diff. So I'm gonna clean this out a little bit. I'm gonna lube this up a little bit. Same as when you're putting on like an oil filter, you just kind of want to lube it up so it slides in and seals off as best as possible. I'm just using this mallet because it's the biggest thing I got to try and push it in evenly. And of course, if y'all don't know, don't hammer on this rubber or use anything metal on it because it will tear and start to leak. So it feels like it bottomed out, and it looks like it's seated in there. Like this gap is even all the way around. So I'm pretty sure it's good. That's the bad thing about doing these kind of stuff with these seals and stuff is you ain't gonna find out till you put it on. So just get it as close as you think you can, as best as it looks, and just roll with it. Like I said, the seals, they are different, and so that's kind of a good thing because you'll know which side goes to what. As you can see, the left side is a lot smaller in diameter than the other one. So I got a seal puller, but all you really need is like a pick or a flathead or something. It don't really matter. I think that's good. Like I said, kind of just gotta hope for the best. Hope you got it in there all the way and flush. I don't know why my camera ain't focusing, but it looks evenly flush all the way around, so we're gonna call that good. So now we can get this on the jack and get it back up on the car. And like I said, mine still has this vent hose, so we good there. And yeah, don't forget to transfer your vent tube and these little shock absorber things. Yeah. So those are on there. Now roll it up under there and jack it up and start bolting it back up. Kept the diff all the way down, and I got both of these barely started in the hose, and then as I jacked it up, they tilted back up in there, and then they fell in place. So I think that's the best way to do it. Don't know for sure though.
Bro, damn, this fuck ass camera done fucking move. I just popped that bitch in.
Alright y'all, so I got it jacked up and kind of positioned as best as I can.
What's going on, Juco?
So I gotta stab those first. and then slide the diff back, and then that'll make these ones line up, and then we can go from there. So. Try and stab these other ones through too before I tighten anything down. And don't forget these little disc plates to put one right there, so don't forget that. I got those tight. The other one, these ones right here tight. Axles are in. Now drive shaft. Oh, we got left. And you don't have to do this, but since this one's used and it's been off of a car for, it don't really take much time. Once them bolts are out, that metal's exposed, so it rusts pretty quick. So I'm gonna run a thread chaser or tap die, whatever it's called, through all these just to kind of clean them out. When you're putting this back in, you know, these on this end, the drive shaft, it has those little bracket things, these little arch shaped things. Well, it also has that on this end. So when you do it, these two are together, you can't connect them, you can't put them two and two here. See how that's two different sections? Like this is one section, these two, and these two are their own pair. You can't do one from one pair and one from the other pair. So make sure that this pair section right here matches up with one of these pair sections on the shaft. Alright, and when you're tightening these down, do like across from each other. So do these two, and then the two across from it, and then these two, and then these two, or something like that. I'm gonna look up the torque spec for these and torque these down, and then we'll basically be done with the rear end. I did Loctite them, torqued them down to 49 foot-pounds. So everything's good. Everything else is tight. I'm gonna go ahead and change my fluid. So I'm gonna pull that drain plug and then fill it back up with new fluid, and we'll be done with the diff. This one, time for the change. So, and there is two drain plug holes, I guess you can call them. This is the main one that actually drains it, and then they say when you go to refill it, put the bottom plug back in and then just fill it all the way up until fluid starts coming out of this top one. So that's what we're gonna do. And I just got this. It's 7590 Valvoline, and it does have the limited slip additive, so you don't have to add any yourself. A lot of people were saying to use, what was it, Amsoil, I think, but they didn't have any at O'Reilly's, and it's good enough. I don't really care about brands like that for real. diff filled back up. Everything's torqued down, differentials, drive shafts torqued down, diffs torqued down, fluids back in it, all that. So we should be good there. Now we can finish putting in these springs, and then we'll move to the front of the car to do the springs on the front as well. And actually, I got one more thing on the diff I forgot about. I ordered a diff brace, really just for extra support. If I ever do build the car, you know, to more power and stuff, it's nice to have. So I'm gonna go ahead and install this real quick. Bolts up with the case bolts for just that.
These are your case bolts. Take those out, put this in there, and then put the case bolts back in. When it comes, new screws. These plates are for, like, I think they said newer body style Chargers and Chryslers and stuff. They didn't have these holes right here in the frame where my finger is. They didn't have them threaded already, so they had to send these threaded plates. But mine's a 2015, and it looks like there's threads in there already, so I don't have to use those. I'll just have to use the supply bolts that they gave me to run it up in there like that.
So that's a diff brace. Got your 2 bolts here with the rubber in between it, and then your case bolts that you reuse, you pull them out and then put them through the brace, and you're done. All right, now that we got everything on the diff done, we can finish putting the lower end springs back in here. So when you're putting these in, you can see there's a tight section and a loose section. The tight goes up and the loose goes down. So they're gonna sit in the car like this. The tightly wound side towards the top and the loose wound side towards the bottom. And if you want to, I just took some compressed air and cleaned the inside of these rubber things out just to get any dust out of there, because dust is usually what causes like squeaking and stuff. So you can do that, and we'll go ahead and start trying to get these in there. So that's how they're gonna sit. And basically what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take my jack up under here and swing that control arm back up to up here where it mounts. So it'll compress that spring. So you gotta be careful, don't let the jack slip out from under it and all that, but that's what I'm gonna do.
Get that hole lined up, stick your bolt through there, and it'll be good.
Step through there. Basically, all I'm doing is I'm getting the bolts started on this end, and then the control arm's basically sitting like this, and it's kind of pivoted like this. So I gotta get it stabbed through on this side, on the right side, and then reset the jack and put the jack over here on the left side so that it can pivot up like this, and the holes will line up, and then it'll just go straight through. Yeah, that's how it's done. Like I said, the diff is what took the most time. That's just because it's heavy, it's awkward, the shape's awkward, it's not like equal, so it don't sit right on the jack, all that stuff. But putting the springs in is pretty simple, especially on the rear. Like I said, take the shock out, take that back lower control arm bolt out, and let that control arm swing down, pull the spring out, put the new one in, and just reverse the process. So this side's done. Looks good sitting in there. So we'll get to the other side, and then we'll be able to move on to the front. All right, y'all, so I got the back on. Back's done, so we're gonna move to the front. The front's pretty easy, so it shouldn't take real long. But I'm gonna get this wheel pulled off of here, and I'll show y'all everything we gotta take off first, and then we'll go from there. First thing, you wanna remove this ABS line, or not ABS line, but wheel speed sensor. Just remove it from these tabs so that whenever the spindle hangs down, it don't pull on this and you ain't gotta worry about remembering to move it later on. So go ahead and take that off. And you're gonna take this off, this upper control arm bolt, and then you're gonna take the sway bar link bolt out right here. And then after that, you'll remove this bottom one that connects the strut to the control arms, and then you'll go to the top side and remove those 3 bolts up there. But first, when you take this off, you're gonna break it loose, take it all the way off, and then thread this nut back up on there like 3 or 4 turns, just so that when this separates, it don't come shooting off. It still has the nut on it. So basically get it loose, and then you're gonna hit this part with a hammer, break this loose, and then we'll go on from there. All right, so on the sway bar bolt, if you see when you turn it, the whole bolt and the nut turns together. So you're gonna have to put what is this? 13/16 right here, or a 21, but I don't got a 21 wrench. You're gonna put a wrench right here, and then a 10mm socket right here to hold this from spinning. The shit I just did, y'all would think I ain't never worked on a car in my life before. I'm trying to take this strut bolt right there. That nut right there is welded to the strut. It don't come off. You gotta take it off from this bolt right here. I done worked up a sweat trying to break that nut off, and it's welded on there. It ain't supposed to come off. So don't do that. Don't waste 10 minutes like I did. Now, basically everything disconnected in the front. Strut bolt's out. Upper control arm, ball joint bolt is out, and then the sway bar is disconnected. So now you gotta move to the top of the hood, up under on the top side of the strut tower. Take them 3 bolts off. So you just got 1, 2, 3, and then the strut should drop out from the bottom. This strut, real easy to come out, honestly. It ain't hard at all. If you don't got one of these at the house, you just have to rent one from AutoZone like I did. Spring compressor. Basically, these just clip on around the spring, and then you tighten it down on this end, and it squeezes the spring down, and then you can take this top nut off of there and separate it. So this is how it should look with the spring compressors on there. Just clamp them on across from each other, and then you'll tighten these down to compress the springs. Alright y'all, so I ran out of storage while I was recording, so I'm gonna tell y'all what I did. So I put the spring compressors on there, and I put the strut back inside the car, because whenever I was trying to loosen this top bolt in the middle right here, and I was trying to loosen it when it was off the car, you know, I'd be turning it and the whole strut would be trying to turn. I didn't have nothing to hold the strut steady while I loosened the bolt, so I put it back in the car to hold it steady. I ran up these 3 nuts back on there, and then I used these vice grips to hold the nut in place, and then I put a 8mm on the top. It's the same setup as how this is, where the nut was spinning the whole entire threaded part. So you had to put a wrench on the nut, and you had to put a socket on this little end piece right here to keep it from spinning. So loosen that up, and then it came out. So now I'm gonna pull the strut back out, and the spring should be able to come out. Now you got the strut and the cool spring. I'm gonna tell y'all right now, be real careful using these spring compressors. This It's basically a bond marker. So when you put them on, take them off, and do it careful. When you're reinstalling this, you're gonna see there's a smaller end and a bigger end. The bigger end goes to the top, or you can even see the more tightly wound side goes to the top. So you put this back in there, and it's got this stop right here, so the end of the spring goes right there. Just like that. And then you'll put the spring compressor back on this one, compress it down, and put it back on the strut. And so this is what I was talking about earlier as far as if you put a socket on here. They have sockets that have holes on the back side, so the stud will stick through and you can grab it. But I don't have those. So if you turn this nut, this spins as well. So and you can't get a wrench on there because it's like recessed inside of there. So I just took these vice grips, locked onto that nut, and then tighten it down this way. So now you got your spring on there, you got this tightened back down. Now you just reinstall everything. Everything goes back the way it came out, and you'll be done. It's crazy. The front's really easier than the back, because I don't know, the back just is a little more complicated trying to get that bolt to line up through to stab back through that lower control arm. Got it up in there, everything's lined up good. Now I just gotta put bolt the bottom of it down there, and then it looks like, I don't know, we'll see later on, but it looks like we're gonna have to jack up on the bottom of this since this is a shorter spring. This isn't reaching all the way down there, and so yeah, but we'll see about that later. Time to put the sway bar back on, you might have to jack up under the control arm to get it to line up. Alright, so we got all this torque down, got the little cap back on there, got our ball joint torque down, strut bolt torque down, sway bar torque down, and that should be about it. Throw the wheel on here, and we'll see how it's sitting. That's how the front's sitting, and it will go a little lower after the suspension settles. But now that's how to do the front, I'm gonna go ahead and jump over to the other side, finish that side up, and then I will get back to y'all when everything's done, and we'll do a full walk around and a little review of how it rides and all that stuff, and then also see how that Diff performs, because that's what I'm really waiting on. But yeah, y'all stay tuned, and I'll get back with y'all when I get done with the other side.
Me and no more, tryna swing, don't tryna get on your way. No, we don't shoot on no crib, we gon' land on y'all finna do it, what they did, baby. Yeah, they gon' know when we go get your head, they gon' hear this. I swear to God, these bitches real life don't be the devil for me. How me and no 5G, and they know I brought a little devil with me. Hit a little leash on the double some mid. Hell yeah, my brother gon' dance out with me. Hell yeah, my brother gon' spin if I spin. Shoot at the crack and switch on the whoa, 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 whoa. Aye, let's part that black real quick, I'm stressing. Shout out to mom, RP. You're so punk, the guys, mile after mile, dodging case after case. Dirty hoes ain't all the same. Pray one day I fly away. Grab my maxim like my K. No crash up pole, everybody start bleeding. All this talking on the gang, gon' make us pull up with it good. Lil got an ARP, and that boy a real deal geek. Spin off a ball, you do this shit every damn week. I said really the stars are playing, I was tryna face from my buddy. Tryna bounce out with a K, I ain't finna do no running. Mile after mile, dodging case after case. Dirty hoes ain't all the same. Pray one day I fly away. Mile after mile, dodging case after case. Dirty hoes ain't all the same. Pray one day I fly away.